Imagine standing on the banks of the James River in Virginia in 1712. The air is heavy with the heat of summer, and an assembly of slaveholders listens as a British slave master shares his sinister secret to controlling enslaved Africans for centuries. His method? Not just physical chains, but psychological ones. Chains designed to pit slave against slave, generation after generation. This scene is the backdrop of the infamous Willie Lynch Letter, a document that, for many, represents the darkest methods of control used by slaveholders. But here's the twist. Historians say Willie Lynch may have never existed, and the letter itself may be nothing more than a hoax. Whether fact or fiction, the Willie Lynch Letter has permeated American consciousness since its emergence in the 1970s, sparking debates about its authenticity and its disturbing insights into the tactics used to divide and control African Americans. In this video, we will delve into the history of the letter, the controversy surrounding it, the figure of Willie Lynch, and the legacy of psychological manipulation that the letter reflects, whether real or fabricated. The Willie Lynch Letter first appeared in public discourse during the 1970s, a period marked by civil rights activism, black empowerment movements, and a renewed focus on the history of African Americans. At a time when Black Americans were seeking to reclaim their history and understand the systemic roots of racism, the letter was introduced as a chilling explanation for the enduring social and psychological divisions within the Black community. The document quickly gained traction, spreading through speeches, literature, and eventually the internet, becoming a fixture in discussions about slavery and its long-lasting effects. According to the letter, Willie Lynch, a British slave owner from the West Indies, delivered a speech in 1712 on the banks of the James River in Virginia. His purpose was to instruct American slaveholders on how to maintain control over their enslaved populations using methods that would perpetuate division and distrust. The speech outlined tactics to divide slaves by skin color, age, and gender, ensuring that they would never unite against their oppressors. Lynch claimed that by implementing his methods, slaveholders could secure control over their slaves for hundreds of years. While there is no concrete historical evidence to support the existence of Willie Lynch or the speech, the letter's message resonated deeply with many African Americans who saw it as a metaphor for the ongoing struggles within their communities. The letter became widely referenced in Black liberation circles and has since become a symbol of the psychological warfare waged against enslaved Africans and their descendants. Despite its popularity, the Willie Lynch Letter has been debunked by historians and scholars who argue that it is a fabrication. Several key factors point to this conclusion. First, there is no historical record of Willie Lynch, the speech he allegedly gave, or any documents from the early 18th century that reference such a method of control. In fact, the first known appearance of the letter was in the 1970s, more than 250 years after the date it was supposedly written. The language and tone of the letter also raise red flags. Scholars have pointed out that the letter contains anachronistic phrases and ideas, using terms and concepts that were not common in the early 1700s. For instance, the letter refers to self-refueling division, a concept more reflective of 20th century psychological theories than anything that would have been articulated during the period of American slavery. The lack of historical evidence combined with linguistic analysis has led most historians to conclude that the Willie Lynch Letter is a hoax. Some speculate that the letter was written in the mid-20th century, possibly as a commentary on the racial tensions and divisions that persisted in Black communities long after slavery ended. If the letter is indeed a fabrication, the question remains: who was Willie Lynch, and why was his name chosen for this infamous document? The answer is both simple and symbolic. The name Lynch is notoriously associated with the violent practice of lynching, extrajudicial killings, often by hanging, that were used to terrorize and control Black people in the United States, particularly in the years following the Civil War. While there is no evidence that a person named Willie Lynch existed or gave a speech in Virginia in 1712, the name was likely chosen to evoke the terror and brutality associated with lynching. It's possible that the letter was written not to deceive but to provoke. The figure of Willie Lynch may have been created as a way to symbolize the systemic and psychological control used during slavery, and the letter may have been designed to raise awareness of the ways in which these methods of control continue to affect African American communities. Whether or not the Willie Lynch letter is real, the tactics it describes were undeniably used during slavery. Slaveholders recognized that controlling a population as large and potentially rebellious as the enslaved African population required more than just physical chains. Division and psychological manipulation were key tools in maintaining control. One of the most insidious forms of division used by slaveholders was colorism, the preferential treatment of lighter-skinned slaves over their darker-skinned counterparts. Lighter-skinned slaves, often the result of rape by white slaveholders, were sometimes given less physically demanding work inside the master's house, while darker-skinned slaves were relegated to grueling labor in the fields. This created a hierarchy among the enslaved, fostering distrust and resentment that undermined solidarity. Gender division was another tool of psychological control. Black men were often emasculated by being denied the ability to protect their families or assert authority, while black women were sexually exploited and forced into positions of extreme vulnerability. These gendered roles fractured the family structure within enslaved communities, making it easier for slaveholders to maintain control. By dividing enslaved people along lines of color, gender, and age, slaveholders were able to prevent unified resistance. The letter's assertion that these divisions could be used to control African Americans for hundreds of years, long after slavery ended, may have been exaggerated, but it wasn't entirely unfounded. Although the Willie Lynch letter is likely a fabrication, the divisions it describes have had a lasting impact on African American communities. The legacy of colorism continues to affect Black people today, with lighter-skinned individuals often enjoying privileges that their darker-skinned counterparts do not. This form of internalized racism has its roots in slavery, where lighter-skinned slaves were given preferential treatment, creating a hierarchy within the enslaved population. Gender dynamics, too, have left their mark. Black men and women have both faced unique challenges stemming from the roles they were forced into during slavery. The emasculation of black men and the sexual exploitation of black women have had ripple effects that persist in modern gender relations within the black community. These psychological scars, born from the brutal system of slavery, have been passed down through generations, shaping the way African Americans navigate their identities and relationships today. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the letter is its implication that the psychological manipulation used during slavery was so effective that it would continue to divide Black people long after slavery was abolished. While the methods described in the letter were not as all-encompassing as the document suggests, the reality is that the divisions sown during slavery, by skin color, gender, and age, did not disappear with emancipation. They have continued to shape the social and psychological landscape of African American life in profound ways. The Willie Lynch letter is a curious artifact in the history of American slavery. While most historians agree that it is not a genuine historical document, its contents reflect a brutal truth. The system of slavery in America was not just about physical domination, it was also about psychological control. Slaveholders used division to prevent unity among the enslaved population, fostering distrust and animosity that would persist long after the physical chains of slavery were removed. Though Willie Lynch likely never existed and his infamous speech may have been a fabrication, the letter has become a powerful symbol of the psychological scars left by slavery. The divisions it describes, by skin color, gender, and age, are all too real, and their effects can still be seen in African American communities today. Whether fact or fiction, the Willie Lynch letter serves as a stark reminder of the enduring legacy of slavery and the importance of understanding and addressing the psychological wounds that remain. In the end, the Willie Lynch letter is more than just a controversial document. It is a reflection of the deep and lasting impact of division as a tool of control, a legacy that continues to shape the lives of African Americans even in the present day.